We're talking with David Weiss, notoriously known as Flat Earth Dave. And we had met in an Acapulco and shared some adventures and some good times and some bad times. And I was very impressed with David's presentation there. And basically, I just wanted to talk to you about really what the cosmology and the implications of this reanalysis of how we view this reality. And I just will start off with my basic, initial take on all of this was when it came out, I started to look at the flight maps and then the measurements because I had covered wireless and there was supposed to be a curvature. But when you actually use a laser to measure past 43 kilometers, you get no curvature. So, bing, what's going on?
Well, when you
But I had
say
also, go
past
ahead.
43 kilometers over a 10-mile lake, which isn't that big, there should be 66 feet of curvature. So when you're on the shore of a 10-mile lake with a super zoom camera, you should not be able to see the shoreline or a house on the other side of the lake. But we can.
But we can.
All right. So again,
And
sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, continue.
no, that's what I wanted to get into. But then I had covered Michael Talbot's holographic universe and also the electric universe, and that deepened my understanding of what this reality is, along with experiences with different brain states and these interdimensional communication. So this radically altered what we were taught in school, or what at least I was taught in school in terms of conventional physics, and makes you ask the deeper questions. Then, as I started to ask more of these questions and go down these rabbit holes, you find out that basically everything we're told is a lie. However, the biggest lie and the biggest question I have is coming to this concept of what is Earth? Is it a reality bubble? Is it a linear environment? Is it a dimensional layer cake? What exactly is it? And when I watched your lecture on Acapulco, I thought, you know what? Now is the time for me to dive into this. It's been long enough that I've kind of dodged it. I've kind of written it off as something, with the whole Michael Aquino thing. But no, there's a ton of information that we're not looking at that imply a different reality than we're used to. So, Dave, take it away, brother. Like, put some
So
holes in this conventional hypothesis that we have of the reality we're living in.
let's talk about, why there's still an argument. Um, Long before a flat earther, I saw this statement when I was into unraveling many of the deceptions of this world, critical thinking, aka conspiracy theorizing. Um, we'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American people believe is false. Now, that's by William Casey, CIA director at the time. And I'm like, everything? That's not true, right? It's literally everything. So if you were taught something, let's say you went to college and you learn, I don't know, some specialty about space, about geology, whatever, and you really did great and you memorized and regurgitated everything perfectly and got straight A's. So that's in your, late teens. And then when they're 30 years old, somebody challenges you and says something completely to the contrary. Let's say you're 40 or 50 years old and you immediately revert to being that teenager when the mentality of that teenager, right? Because you're defending it from when you learned it. When did you learn that the earth was a ball?
I guess that's one of the first things. Yeah, around 5 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you tell somebody the earth is a ball, they literally go back to their initial programming of 5 years old and they behave like 5 year olds. They literally have the maturity of a 5 year old when arguing these points that were put into their subconscious, right? Your subconscious remembers everything always true or false and it labels it, right? It labels it. I once told you that I was the president of the United States. I used to be, right? You remember that, but you stored it as false, no need to verify, right? Because of your life experiences.
Right.
So being at our age with our life experiences, our conscious screen has very small holes in it. You really got to have something really truthful to get through to your subconscious to store as truth. As a 5 year old, the holes are gigantic. It's just one big hole, and anybody of authority that tells you something will be stored as truthful information, and then over time, you see it in movies, you see it in cartoons, you see it on Sesame Street, you see, news stories about the globe, the globe, the globe, the globe, and you build this web of false screening. It's all based on falseness. So you can't get any real truth through now because your reality screen is built on a false narrative.
And not just that, Dave, but we anchor our ego and our personality to our belief system because we have an idea of self-identity through what we believe. So when you shatter that, people are very scared to let that reality go because they've connected who they are to it.
Yeah. So Ryan, getting to know you, I can tell that you and I have completely killed our egos. That's why we know that we're better than everybody else. It's a joke, people. Relax. Don't clip
We're humble
that.
too. The humblest of the humble.
We're the most humble, and we're better than everyone else. That's how we know we killed our ego. No, untrue. But it is about laying down your ego because our reality is built on a false concept, right? Everything is built off the radius of the Earth, which is a lie. Everything, all cosmology. When I show images and videos proving that we can see too far and that it's not refraction proving it, people go, well, maybe the Earth is bigger. Okay, cool. If the Earth was bigger, we have measurements that would require the Earth to be 1,000 times bigger. If the Earth is 1,000 times bigger, that's a problem. But if the Earth is any different than the radius that they claim, all of cosmology is dead. Everything we know, everything we think we know, everything about cosmology, space travel, it's all based on the radius of the Earth. So everything changes, everything falls apart. And the whole thing crumbles just because everything is based off of one simple lie. The radius of the Earth is just under 4,000 miles. Untrue.
Now, I'm sure you're familiar with Werner von Braun, and he had said notoriously before he died that the distance from the Earth to the moon and the Earth to the sun was completely off. What is your take on that, and what do you think was the story with him?
Well, Werner von Braun, the story is he was a Nazi rocket scientist, was brought over here to run NASA. First off, the whole space race is a lie. All the countries are working together. Excuse me, with all of the different space agencies, Japan, India, Russia, all of them. Guess where they all train together? In Florida at a NASA facility. They're all getting their stories together. Now, why do we have fake space agencies? And people will jump to, well, it's a money laundering thing, right? They're taking $80 million a day from the taxpayer. That's true. But in reality, the people that run this world don't need money. They need money to control us. They can type digits into a computer and have as much money as they want. Anything they want, they can just type the digits in and they're done. So it's not just about money. It's about control. It's about having us being wage slaves on their loosh farm.
Plantation.
Yeah. Well, and I truly believe this is all about demonic feeding off of our loosh energy, right? You're familiar with loosh, of course.
This is where we are in 100% agreement because that's what I believe the AI control grid is creating is basically a human sipsack farm for the generation of suffering for their own feeding.
Yeah, so they do all of these things, like if we I'm careful what we say on YouTube here, the Schmarly Schmirk guy that got taken out. I don't believe any of that's real. I still believe he's alive, and the evidence is overwhelming. But people say, well, why would they do that? It's to get everybody fighting, everyone angry, get the Christians upset, and and Israel, and just all. Why would they do that? It's all about anything to make us fight. And here's what I really learned is if you don't give them their loose energy, they leave you alone. They literally leave you alone. We go from crisis to crisis to crisis in our lives. We solve one crisis and another one starts. Right? And you have to not give it energy. You have to just embrace it and say, okay, what are we going to do? And you just move on and all of this stuff goes away. And the demons don't have time to deal with people that aren't feeding them.
Don't feed the archons. Very
Don't.
Buddhist of you, David. I agree.
Yeah, yeah. I just put a video on my DITRH channel called "Don't Feed the Archons." Maybe you saw it. It's a great video. Did you hear the story? Let's just jumping back, just since we're talking about demons for a second. Um, the story about Bali, about the demons in Bali.
Tell me.
Yeah, so every year in Bali, there's a nation, is Nepali nation, an island-wide um, ceremony where they have this demonic celebration. They have demons going through the street, parades and everything, and they sacrifice animals. Now, you ask AI, and it goes, oh, they don't really sacrifice animals. And children go missing. They don't report on that either. But it's this whole demonic thing. And then they shut the power down on the entire land. And no one's allowed to leave their hotels or their homes, and they have to be quiet for 24 hours. And the story is that they made a deal with the demons. The demons come out and eat all the loosh for that day, and then they go away and they don't bother the people anymore. Right? This is a real ceremony that goes on every year. Now you could just say I don't believe it. It's a stupid, ceremony. It's people that are just uninformed. Untrue. The people that we say, oh, primitive people. Primitive people built all the buildings that we have no idea how they built them. Okay, those are primitive people. You know what's primitive? We're primitive. We're the
I
primitive
agree.
people. We're the primitive people. It's
And
crazy.
and we have the educational system to thank for that because, like you said and touched on, we've been conditioned from birth to our current selves in layers and layers and layers of bullshit, starting with things that our parents didn't know that they taught us, to things that our schools and our religious systems programmed us and conditioned us, then to entertainment to reinforce it through that, then to the medical system, the law enforcement, and it goes on and on and on, and we end up with this layer cake of lies that have been drilled into us that unless you start to question and unravel these things and be confident enough in your sense of self that you don't define yourself by a lie or a belief system. So if you can wipe one away and find out you're wrong and say, oh, you know what? I was wrong about that. That's a good thing when you find out that you've been wrong about something and you correct it. It's not a criticism of your intellect. It's a credit to your intellect.
The anti-flat earthers out there like, you flat earthers will never change your mind. No, no, no. We all changed our mind. We all were globers like you, but we used our God-given common sense, which you don't use. And we've looked at the science. Oh, you're science deniers, they say. No, no, we actually use the science. I offer the 3 Bitcoins for any scientific proof that we live on the globe, and nobody can come up with any of them other than you live in your mother's basement and you are the R word. That's
And
the
let me
best
tell you,
proof they
David,
have.
that's one of the things that got me to really consider again and look at it because I just wanted to put it aside because it's such a hot topic. But when I did watch the debates, and I was like, why can't we have a legitimate scientific debate between earthers and flat earthers? And every time a sphere earth person got up to talk, it was completely dismissive, insulting, and disrespectful. And it was not about the science. It was just about, oh, well, you think the whole world would be lying to us? Yeah. Yeah, that's what we
Well,
think.
but here's
They
the
are
thing.
all lying to us.
Well, that's
From
not a
birth to death, they're lying to us.
but not everyone is lying. The ones that are pushing heliocentrism, those are the teachers, those are the professors, those are the ones that memorize and regurgitate and don't use critical thought. How do you become a teacher? You repeat what's in the Rockefeller funded textbooks. And then if you're really good at it, you can teach the next generation. I don't think 99.9% of the teachers are liars. I think that they're just fooled. They
True
just
believers.
believe what they're true believers. And then I also believe that there's demonic coordination in going after flat earthers. I've noticed, like, I listen to and do a lot of TikTok lives, and my good friend Angels of Light, he goes on there and he every day he's like, come on up and give me your best globe proof, right? And every day there's different tacks that all of the random callers from across the plane come with. They're coming in with insults one day. Other days they're coming in with like they different strategies, but they're all doing the same tactic. It's really, really weird, right? And I think that the demons literally are coordinated. Now, do you know who Jerry Marzinski is?
I've heard that name mentioned, but I
He
don't recall.
he is a psychiatrist, or that worked in a mental ward dealing with schizophrenia, and he was looking at the treatment that all the other you know um, longer doctor, more tenured doctors, they're all just shock therapy and drugs, shock therapy and drugs, right? Are you still hearing the voices? More drugs, more drugs. And so he started questioning these people, and he ended up taking over schizophrenia in a large prison system, and he found out that the delusions, hallucinations should not be coordinated, but all of the people that are not seeing each other, all the mental patients, schizophrenics, are having the same types of delusions, same theme at the same time. And he found out that one of them said, "Hey, I read this Bible verse out loud when the voices came, and they freaked out and left." So he printed out that Bible verse and gave it to all of the other prisoners and said, "When you hear the voices, just read this." And they all had the same story. The voices freaked out and left.
Hmm.
Fascinating.
That is
Fascinating.
fascinating.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Yeah. So
Now, I know we are going to get into the whole demonic thing, and I want to understand deeper your cosmology, because once you blow away the old, what is the new? But before we do, why don't we get into some of your best proofs and the points that no other conventional minded philosopher or scientist has been able to punch holes in or prove otherwise? Give us
yeah.
your best.
Well, every flat Earth proof is the best proof, but I'll give you some. But what the best globe proof is, there's no proof of flat Earth. Flat Earthers, they'll make these positive claims with no proof behind them. They'll say there is no flat Earth proof. Well, no, there's only flat Earth proof. Flat Earthers are science deniers. No, we actually use science. You are science deniers. You're science, and we call them out all the time. Flat Earth has been debunked. No, the globe has been debunked. They literally just say stuff, and if they say it with an Australian or an English accent, they sound more, they're like, "Oh, that's definitely credible. That guy's got an accent," right? And so it's crazy. But here's one. I was on the Brad Lee Dropping Bombs podcast. I don't know if you saw it, and he's a huge podcaster out of Las Vegas, and blew his mind. I told him three things in the green room before the show. He said, it's going to go longer than you thought. You're going to invite me back, and it's going to be one of your highest viewed podcasts, right? This guy's a huge social media podcaster. And all three of those things happened. Okay. All three of those things. So he texted me the other day. He says, "Dave, I'm sitting with a guy who wants the Bitcoin, because I offer 3 Bitcoins. Right? He's a pilot." He said, "The earth is round and he can prove it. He wants to know when he flies from North Dakota to Vegas, he takes off at a heading of 223 degrees towards Vegas on autopilot, but he ends up at 215 degrees. Why? If the earth is flat, that this would be 223 degrees it would be 223 degrees the whole way." What that shows is this pilot is indoctrinated and has never used his own mind. Okay. So before I even checked it, I knew what the answer was, and I knew it would line up perfectly. So I made a series of slides to show him. So here's the flat Earth map, right? The center is the north, right? This is Antarctica. The shoreline around our pond, a pond needs a shoreline. Antarctica is the highest land on Earth. On average, average height of every continent, Antarctica is twice as high as number 2. That would make sense to hold our waters in, right? A pond needs a shoreline. Water needs to be contained. So this is the compass that we all learned. This is a false compass. So if this is the north, right? We're at the North Pole here, right? Here's south over, Australia is south of America, right? It's in the southern hemisphere. So why is this west? Why is that east? North? I thought north was here, right? I thought north was at the center. So what is a compass? A compass is only good for your exact position. your exact position. It's not good for the Earth.
Yes.
This is the
Yes.
real compass.
Yes.
South
Right.
south is every direction away from north. So let's say you and I were at the North Pole and there was actually a pole there, like a big telephone pole, and that's the North Pole. And you and I have our backs to the poles and we're facing in opposite directions. Which direction are you facing?
Well, if we're facing the pole north.
No, you have your back to the North Pole, so
Oh, excuse me, south.
you're facing south, and I'm facing south. If we both started walking away, I'm going this way, and you're going this way. We're both walking south.
Hmm.
But that's the same on a globe and a flat Earth. Because if you're at the North Pole, we can both walk south down to the bottom, right? And south
Right.
this way down to the bottom.
Yes.
Okay, so we can agree that south and north are straight lines. All of these lines are north-south lines, and they're straight lines on a flat Earth and a globe Earth. I mean, on a globe Earth, they're straight but curved, but there's no curvature that we can measure. But okay, we'll just say they're straight. All right, you with me?
Yes.
Okay, stop me if I lose you. So east and west are not straight lines on a flat Earth or a globe Earth. Only north-south lines are straight lines on both. So these circle lines, these are lines of latitude. These are east and west. Same on a globe, same on a flat Earth, right? So east and west. So west would be following this line all the way around, and then you come right back to where you started from.
Yes.
You could circumnavigate the center of your town by walking around the outside of your town and come right back to where you started. Doesn't make your town a globe, but it doesn't make the Earth flat either. So when you're going west, your compass heading, you have to constantly turn to the right to maintain your compass heading because that needle always has to point towards the center. The needle will always point towards the center because the magnetic center pulls the needle towards it. So west is a right-hand turn all the way around. Same on a globe, same on a flat Earth in the northern hemisphere, right? East, opposite direction. Amelia Earhart went around the world east. She just went east, came right back to where she started from, allegedly. All right? You with me? So on a globe, this plane at this line of latitude would have to constantly turn to the right. It would have to turn to the right to maintain a heading of 270 degrees west. Now, pilots, they don't even know that. They don't even know that. They're pilots. But if you were on a track just 1,000 miles around, circular track 1,000 miles around, you wouldn't even know that you were turning. You would be driving down a straight road. The micro turns that you would be doing, you wouldn't even notice. Even 10 miles around, but let's make it 1,000 miles, right? 1,000 miles around, you would be driving on a straight road in the way you see it, right? But it's a circle. Right. And your compass, if the center of that 1,000-mile circle was a big magnet, your compass would just have the same heading of 270 the whole way around. Problem comes in the south. In the south, you'd have to turn to the left to correct to the south. You'd have to turn to the left, right? These are left-hand circles, right? But there's many ship's captains in the south that say that when they're heading east or west, they always have to correct to the north. We have a first-hand report. It's on Mark Sargent's channel of a helmsman that said to the admiral, he goes, when we're heading east, I have to always correct to the north. He goes, I thought it was a rudder thing, but now that we're heading back in the other direction, I still have to correct to the north. I don't understand it. And the admiral said, don't worry about it.
That's glaring.
Interesting.
And what do you make of perhaps, as they say, a black rock or a magnetic mountain at the North Pole that is kind of pulling magnetism towards it?
Well, I've never been there, but there is something pulling magnetism towards it. And the black rock, the Rupus Negro, makes a lot of sense to me. A lot of speculation. We're not allowed to go there. That's also very telling. But what's interesting is if we lived on a globe with a North Pole and a South Pole, compasses in the south would point to the South Pole. Compasses only point to the North Pole no matter where you are on Earth. So out here, compass should point that way, but it doesn't. It points that way.
Are you familiar with the Merkaba, David?
The Merkaba,
The
the Merkaba.
Merkaba. So it's
Yeah.
counter-rotating tetrahedrons. The base sucks energy. The point will project energy. And I know Charozadeh, who has done some analysis of UFO sightings and events, has used the Merkaba in a spherical planetary physics to identify kind of focal points for the tips of the yeah, right there. Yes. So, okay. Go ahead, take it away.
Yeah. So I think we live in a celestial sphere on this plane of inertia. This is the physicality of where we live, and there's different layers of density.
Hmm.
There, if you look at it, there's 7 or 12 different heavens above. Don't know, I haven't been there. I'm just talking about where we live right here. That's what I'm talking about. All right. So getting back to this, 270 on a flat Earth and a globe Earth is a right-hand turn. On a globe Earth, it's a left-hand turn, but no one's ever turned left. They always turn to the right. Fascinating. Let's move on.
Which is glaring. That's
Yeah.
a glaring point, and
Yep.
nobody's ever been able to explain that to you from a conventional science.
Nope. No one has. So here we have North Dakota and we have Las Vegas, 2 black dots, right? So here is a compass straight up and down. 223 is there and 215 is there, right? So here's 223. And now I took that same compass and I rotated it because remember, we have to rotate to the right as farther south we go. And here's 215. And if I draw a line between those two, it's parallel. It's showing you that as this plane flies, it's shifting from 223 to 215. Welcome to Flat Earth.
And what was his answer? Did he commit suicide?
I don't know if Brad gave it to the pilot yet, because I just answered Brad the other day with it. And there's 2 answers that can come. There's only 2 possible answers. One is, wow, that's fascinating. And then he could ask another question. That's what I would hope for. The other one is, nah, that's not true. You're making it up. Where did you get your pilot's license? Right? That's the answer I'm actually expecting. I'm hoping for the other. I'm hoping the pilot says, "Could I have a private conversation with you? Could I do a Zoom call with you? Can I come on one of your podcasts? Let's discuss further," because we can absolutely destroy pilots. When I say destroy, break their illusion of where they're going. Let me show you another one, right? So there's a thing called the angle, the top TOD calculation, the top of descent, right? I just flew home yesterday, right, to JFK, about 100, and literally the pilot came on, used my example. He goes, "We're about 125 miles out, seat backs up, tray tables up, put your crap away, we're going to be descending." So So the pilot has to figure, okay, we're at 35,000 feet. I got to drop X number of feet per mile to hit the runway. So he does his calculation, 35,000 feet, 125 miles, and he does the calculation and he follows that angle of descent, and there's the runway. Problem is, that is a flat earth calculation he's doing. In 125 miles, there's 2 miles of curvature. So if he does not calculate for that curvature, which he does not, he would be 2 miles too high when he gets to the runway.
Yeah,
how about that?
And that's something that's every pilot can verify. Everybody out there can verify themselves, and that is accurate.
Yeah. The
Big question mark.
the response is, well, the plane does it automatically. Oh, like what part of the plane? The autopilot. What in the autopilot does that? They're using a top-down calculation, right? They're using a top-down calculation, and it doesn't work. It doesn't
Yeah.
work. They don't calculate for curvature. They don't calculate for spin. Let's say a plane leaves Alaska. Now, Alaska on the globe is spinning around the North Pole at about 200 to 300 miles per hour, and it makes a full little circle around the North Pole. The equator is 24,000 plus miles, and it goes around the same amount of time, so it's going over 1,000 miles an hour. So if a plane took off in Alaska and wanted to land in Ecuador on a north-south runway, that north-south runway is moving sideways at over 1,000 miles an hour.
Mm. On that one, I'll push back a bit because it's like if you're standing on a train that's going 100 miles an hour and you jump up, you're still moving at 100 miles an hour. So it's not
Well,
like,
you're moving 100 miles an hour, but you got to get onto the train next to you that's going 1,000 miles an hour.
yeah, that's a different equation.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
kidding. Um, yeah, it's just incredible, you know. And I wanted to take some pictures. I was on, and anybody could do this. They say, you know, in if you go to Dubai, you can watch the sunset and then quickly go up to the top of the big tower and watch the sunset again. You've heard that, right?
Yes.
Why is that? So from a global point of view, why is it? Because the higher you get, the farther over the curve you can see. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. So when you're standing on a ball, the earth curves down and away from you in all directions. You're at the top of the ball, the earth curves down and away from all directions.
Yes.
Let me just pull up a perspective thing here. So the earth curves down and away in all directions. Here's some street lights on a street. Now they're all the same height, but they look like they're going down, right?
Yes.
They look like they're going down, but that's just perspective. The sun does the same thing. It looks like it's going down. The water ramps up. See how that water ramps up?
What do you mean by ramps up? I'm
Well,
sorry.
it here. What is going on here?
Oh, it's moving towards you when you see the lines, the waves coming in.
Yeah, on my
Okay.
image
Yes.
here.
Like the highway.
Yeah. So here we have the floor here, and all my little Jesuses are getting, the farther ones are higher in from the way you see than the lower ones, right?
Yes.
And even if I go up, I can now see a little farther, right? I can see a little farther.
Yeah.
But if we did it on a ball, here's a ball. This guy is missing from because he's over the curve. But look at the water. The water is ramping up. The actual water is ramping up. And so go to a calm ocean and go to the beach side, and you'll see that the water's there. And then if you can go get in an elevator or something, go up and you'll watch as you go up, the water will rise with you. You go up to the top of a very tall building, the water now looks like it's ramping up. If you look at it, it looks like it's as high, it looks like it's ramping up and it's going to come in at you. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But the higher up you get, if you're seeing farther over the curve, that horizon should get lower and lower. The higher you get, the lower it should go. But it never does. Until you get to huge altitudes where you're seeing so far across the flat plane that the atmosphere becomes opaque and creates a false lower horizon. Do you understand? The horizon is where the sky apparently meets the ground, right? Where the sky apparently meets the ground. And if the air becomes opaque, it becomes sky. Sky is just opaque air. It just becomes opaque. So if you're up high enough to see hundreds of miles, you can't see hundreds of miles through the air. The air becomes sky, and then the horizon will look lower, which is closer to you. So that's the only reason.
Almost like a mirage effect.
Well, it's almost like a mirage. It's more of just an opacity factor, and you can't see past it, right?
Right.
here's one of the world record photographs, 275 miles, 12,000 foot. The photo elevation is 9,000, just over 9,000 feet. Target hidden height, 16,000 feet. So this is the height of the mountain, 3,759, more than the top. But we can see all of these mountains here. They're all here. Now, this wasn't a flat earther that took this. It was just somebody looking for a world record.
And again, that's a dead ringer right there.
Yeah.
What's the argument?
The
If
argument
we
is
made a linear
refraction.
shot and it's supposed to be curving off, that should not be visible in any way, shape, or form from that actual height.
Yeah. The argument is refraction, right? But the problem is we can't see forever because of opacity. We can't see forever because of the angular resolution limits of our eyes. The horizon always appears at eye level, but in reality, over long distances, ready for this? It's thousands of feet above your eye level. Why? Because let's say the atmosphere is 20, 30,000 feet of atmosphere. Over 50 miles, that becomes a flat line. It literally gets compressed. So when you see that flat line, it's the top of the atmosphere, which is thousands of feet above your eye level. I'm trying to find a little image for you. Here. Well, let me show you this first. I'll get back to the clouds. So this is a spot in Illusion, France. We're looking out 175 miles away is Mount Canigou, and you can't see it because this is the Earth curve, right? This is the Earth curve. Now,
Yeah.
the Earth curve... So Mount Canigou, using this location's altitude, using their globe Earth curve calculator, the top of Mount Canigou should be over a half a mile below the curve. Well, guess what? We can't see it. Now, if I turned off all the lights in my room, you wouldn't see me because there'd be no light bouncing off of me, right? Well, the light that's bouncing off of Mount Canigou isn't strong enough to push 175 miles. But the sun's light is brighter. And twice a year, as the sun moves between the two tropics, it lines up and it backlights Mount Canigou. And here it is. The top
blows
of Mount...
away the refraction argument.
Well, no, they still use it. The top of Mount Canigou right here should be over a half a mile below the curve. You want to hear the Glober explanation?
What?
The Glober explanation... First, I'll give you the flat Earth explanation. We can see Mount Canigou because it's right there. All right. Now, the globe Earth explanation is, well, the sun has already set below the curve. The mountain is always behind the curve, but the sun is refracting up, and the unlit mountain is refracting up, blocking the sun. The reason you can't figure that out is not because you're stupid, because it's stupid, right? And people don't want to understand that, that it's not that complicated. Earth is clearly, provably flat. Every scientific experiment ever done to prove axial rotation, curvature, and every other scientific law, like gas needs to be contained, has proven the Earth is flat, stationary, and enclosed.
And I'm sure, David, you could probably do this for 5 hours with point after point after point after experiment showing these things.
Yeah.
So show me a few more, but then I want to get to the implications of what this means for cosmology and what this means for our educational system. And like I said, we talked about demons a little bit, but let's get into that too. So show me another one.
So this is the Suez Canal. It's over 100 miles long. There should be over a mile of curvature. It was based on a datum line of 14 feet or something like that, and it has no curvature whatsoever. So, I mean, Earth is clearly flat. Here, whoops, that's not what I want to show you. Let me get back there. All right. So this is New Zealand over here. Australia's around the corner. Argentina's over here. Flight Aware says this is the shortest flight. We're not going over Antarctica, so we're not disturbing the penguins, right? Because all the countries in the world agree that we can't disturb the penguins, right? And it's not that far of a flight. Right here. This is what Flight Aware says the shortest route is. Cool. Great. Awesome. The actual flight route goes from here up and across the equator to San Francisco, over to Texas, and back down. Well, they got to drop people off in San Francisco. There's not that many people that want to go to Argentina. Bullshit. Full plane, people that want to go to Argentina. And they have 2 stops. Why do they go that far out of the way? This leg is longer than this leg on the globe. Reason is New Zealand, San Francisco, Houston, Texas, and Argentina are a perfectly straight line on a flat Earth map. There's dozens and dozens of these. There's dozens of emergency landings that land in ridiculous places when you look at the globe, but always the emergency landing is somewhere on the straight line between the origin and destination. Right?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that made me go, was all of the flight paths and the flight patterns, and it was like, this doesn't make sense. There has to be something that explains it better. That explains better.
Yeah. And people say, well, what about a flight from California to Spain versus Santiago to Australia? On a flat Earth map, it's almost twice as far, but the plane flights are about the same amount of time. Great question. Glad you asked. Right? There's jet streams that circle around the flat Earth that go up to 350 miles per hour at like 40, 45, 50,000 feet or whatever the heights are for them. So the plane that goes from South America to New Zealand or Australia is the Dreamliner 777 or whatever the number is, and it's only run by a handful of military pilots. There was an article we had found that talked about how it had 7 layers of heat-resistant paint. That suggests it's going a little faster than they're telling us. And they admit that it goes 650 miles an hour. Okay? They admit that, probably goes faster, right? And 650 plus a 350 tailwind is 1,000 miles an hour. So if you're going from here to here at 1,000 miles an hour, and if you're going at half that distance from here to here, let's say, at 500 miles an hour, and you both take off at the same time, who's going to get there first? You get there at the same time. One's going 500 miles an hour, ground speed. The other one's going 1,000 miles an hour, ground speed. Who's in charge of all international flight routes? NASA. Should tell you something. GPS is hiding the flat Earth. Everyone in the world has access to GPS, but nobody except NASA is allowed to see the code. Why, if everyone's allowed to use it, why wouldn't the code be open source?
And I believe their answer at one point was that they don't want it used for some kind of targeting, precision munitions, and that a lot of the GPS readings, I think 1 out of 13, is off a certain amount that's what they say anyway.
They say a lot of things. I mean, I'm actually better at steel manning the globe than the Globers are. I know their argument's better than them. It's not even worth talking to these anti-flat earthers anymore. I like talking to, and ignorance, not a bad word. You and I are ignorant to everything we don't know, right? Ignorant people that think the earth is a globe. And they're like, oh, it's 100% a globe. Oh, 100%? Really? Let me ask you a question. What's the radius of the earth? What's the circumference? How did they figure out the distance to the sun? How big is the sun? They don't know any of those answers. I'm like, wait a minute. You're arguing for the globe, but you don't know any of the answers, right?
Is it true, though, David, that there are encoded mathematics in the Great Pyramid that imply a sphere Earth?
Well, there's encoded mathematics that match up with measurements of the Earth, a sphere, but you have to remember the sphere was based off of the flat Earth, just turned into a sphere. Math is math. It also works on a flat Earth.
Okay, good to know.
And the pyramids point towards the same stars. Now, we're corkscrewing through space, right? Moving 4.5 billion miles a year, right? And all the stars are going in their own directions, but for how many thousands of years do those stars always stay right above the pyramids? How is that possible? Moving 4.5 billion miles a year, never to return where we were before. But somehow all of the stars never change.
So what do you make of that if we are in a linear, flat, middle Earth plane in this kind of toroidal, dimensional, interdimensional layer cake? What does that mean for space? What is space? And how is it that we look out at, let's say, Saturn, and you can see the different moons around Saturn, and they sure seem to be orbiting some kind of spherical body
I
in the
think you mean
heavens.
Jupiter. We can see the moons around Jupiter.
Excuse me, Jupiter. Yeah.
Yeah. So first, let's look at this is the original picture that's in all of our textbooks of Saturn. Cool, right? But we took it off of NASA's website, put it into Photoshop, cranked up the levels, and you can clearly see an amateur Photoshop person put this together. So they're lying about planets, right? Here's a picture of Pluto that the Voyager took. Amazing. Billions of miles away, whatever the distance is, and took this picture at 60,000 miles an hour and sent it back to Earth with a 4 megapixel camera. Cool. And it looks just like Pluto. Pluto and Pluto were discovered and named the same year. Fascinating. Disney must have just thought it was the coolest thing ever.
But
But
David, before we continue, you pointed out that the Saturn picture was photoshopped.
yeah,
I didn't follow on that. Why is it photoshopped
look
and
at the
not photographed?
layers. Look at the layers. This is just cranked up the layers. You can see that it's cut and pasted together. Like, look at these layers. These are different pieces,
Oh, I
this
see
all
there.
photoshopped
Yeah,
together. And it's just nonsense. When we look at this is what NASA and Disney show us, and this is what every high powered telescope shows us. These are lights in the sky. Look at
yeah.
Venus. Looks like a wheel inside a wheel,
Yeah,
right?
and I have looked through telescopes at that myself to the stars, and they do look like orbs that are photographed. They look like there's some kind of geometry or something in them, and it does not look like we've been shown for sure. And anybody who has a telescope can look at these celestial bodies and see those weird patterns
Yeah, our consumer
within them,
optics have
which does fit with the ancient descriptions of wheels within wheels.
yeah, our consumer optics have
Right.
outgrown their lies. This is a star zoomed in with a P1000.
Yeah.
Does that look like a burning ball of helium and hydrogen
Hmm.
trillions and trillions of miles away? The law of big numbers, they never taught us about big numbers. Let me tell you why. The closest star to Earth is 25 trillion miles away, 4.5 light years, 25 trillion miles. Ryan, do you know how big a trillion is, which is a very small number cosmologically? But do you know how much a trillion is?
Stack of dollar bills to the moon and back.
Actually I don't know that.
If
I
you
don't know if
believe
that's
that,
it,
David.
but a trillion seconds is how long? Do you know?
Oh,
Take a
a
guess.
lot.
If you
A
guess it
trillion
within
is a really
if
big
you guess it
number.
within 3 weeks, I'll give you a Bitcoin.
235,000 years.
Oh, that's a little long. 31,000 years. All right.
30, okay.
31,000 years is 1 trillion seconds. They're telling us that the closest star is 25 trillion miles away. So if we're going a mile per second, no one's ever gone that fast. For 31,000 years, we have to do that 24 more times to get to the closest star. So stupid. All right. Michio himself said that that cosmology is off by a factor of, it's called the cosmological catastrophe. It's off by a factor of 10 to the 120th power, 10 with 120 zeros, right? So
Wow.
what do they mean by cosmology is off by that much, right? If they could make a million mistakes every second, right? A million mistakes a second. I'm making it so ridiculous. and the universe is 13 and a half billion years old. So if they made a million mistakes every second from the beginning of the universe before humans existed to now, 13 and a half billion years of making a million mistakes a second, you have to take that number and multiply it by like 10 to the 90th. Again, you have to multiply it by 10 to the 90th, right? So these numbers don't even exist. It's so stupid. But people are just like, well, I don't know. Their brains melt. They go, the guy, he's got an accent. He's got a pocket protector and his lab coat. He must know what he's talking about.
And they
He's all
see the
over.
chalkboard of formulas and symbols that are incomprehensible. I've tried to learn some of that stuff, and I agree. It doesn't even seem comprehensible when they do their calculations.
And
And what
math
they
is
do
not
is whenever
reality.
their calculations don't fit, they put a placeholder in there with a letter or some kind of a symbol to make up for their bullshit. So if I say 2 plus 2 is 500, then they say 2 plus 2 plus some squiggly number equals 500, then they go, see, my math works
Yeah.
because the squiggly number equals whatever I'm off. And I'm like, how does this make sense?
So, so
Do
the
you know
story.
the Valley? We're not.
Yeah. The story of Eratosthenes, who figured
No.
out 2,000 years ago, Eratosthenes figured out, um, he figured out the radius of the earth, the mathematician, 2,000 years ago. So the Greeks figured out the radius of the earth 2,000 years ago with their sticks and shadows, right? Do you remember? You're ringing a bell?
Yes.
So, so I'm just going to show you that math doesn't work, right? So he said, well, eh, hold on a second. So they think that the sun is so far away that the rays come in parallel. So Eratosthenes had a stick or a well. He saw the shadow of the sun on the bottom of the well, said, hey, the sun's directly above me. That's cool. That's correct. So he put a stick in the ground and there's no shadow. And he had his buddy 500 miles away at the same time put a stick up and it showed a shadow. And now Carl Sagan taught us in Cosmos that that can only happen on a globe Earth. Because on a flat Earth, the shadows would be the same, right? Because he's using the sun, there's no shadow. He says only on a globe Earth, only when you bend it, let me just jump forward, can you have no shadow and a shadow. And kids are like, wow, right? I was like, wow, that makes sense. Eratosthenes only works on a globe Earth. That's not true, right? On a flat Earth with a small local sun, you got a stick, no shadow, and you got a stick with a shadow. We could do the exact same math Eratosthenes did and figure out the sphericity of this flat area. Do it on your own desk. Put two bottles or lighters, two things sticking upright, and hold the light over one of them. No shadow. This one will have a shadow.
So meaning that the sun is not as large as we've been told,
And it's not as
and
far.
that it's closer to us and it's smaller. And how does that match up with solar winds? And there's a channel, Suspicious Observer, and he gets very into the speed of the solar winds, and after there's a flare, how long it takes to reach Earth. What do you make of all that?
Most of it, if not all of it, is complete and total utter garbage.
Hmm.
There's no solar flares that hit Earth days later. Um, they are filming some stuff going on, but it's all coming from NASA. NASA, like he's never himself filmed a solar flare. So NASA says there was a solar flare 3 days ago and it's going to hit us today or something, or 8 minutes later, or whatever they're claiming. He's got no real time data. He's just listening to NASA. So first you got to look at NASA. We've proven time and time over again that NASA is lying about everything. If they're lying about one thing, that's enough. So you catch them lying about one thing, and it's over. It's over. But
And just for those that don't know, they've been caught over and over suspending astronauts on strings, doing productions on green screens, faking all kinds of things that they've ever produced. So
yeah,
no question there, it's full of shit. They have an entire department of Photoshop and graphics people to manipulate imagery that we're given and fed. There have been times they've screwed up where they've shown us like rats on Mars or a Coke can buried in the desert when we know that this is actually footage from Greenland, and stuff like that, because we have the actual footage and it matches up with what they're telling us is Mars. So yeah, I'm with you on that. They lie to us about everything and they're full of shit.
Check this out.
So no
This is
surprises.
the picture of the Mars rover, and we zoomed in. And if you look right here, life on Mars.
Yeah, there you go. A fly.
Yeah. And the Globers will argue that they'll either say nah or yeah, okay, there's life on Mars. How about this life here on Earth? And this is filmed on
Yeah.
Earth.
Yeah, there was one that was allegedly from Mars that showed like a little window with bars that I got right off of one of the university websites that was supposed to be from Mars. And I was like, what's this? This is a studio. This is some kind of studio they're producing it on.
Yeah.
And they had, go ahead.
No, that's it. I'm just showing you, like, they got this is the drone that's flying on Mars in their 1% atmosphere. How does that work? Look at the shadow. Where's the shadow of this camera? How come there's no
Yeah.
shadow? I mean, there's so many
Yeah.
things. We've caught them too many times. David Weiss here. I've been taking Masterpiece for probably over a year, maybe even 2 years. And the detox I feel from it is amazing. I have never felt better in my life. I know that sounds like a lot, but I sleep better. I have amazing dreams when I take it at night. I take it twice a day most of the time, but sometimes I only take it once a day because I forget. But it's definitely an amazing product. And now with the new research they've done where it is literally getting rid of the nanotech in your body, I can't imagine not having any. So there you go. That's my testimony, and I love the stuff, and I'm never going to stop taking it.
And let's point out that NASA was started largely by a bunch of Nazi scientists who had come over here under Werner von Braun and were working together until the end, and probably still are, for some extra national organization that runs this planet. So that brings us, so let's presume that everything you've said is accurate. What
Okay.
are we looking at when we look at planets and stars? What are those things? And tell us about the early space pioneers, and then you can get into
Well,
that.
these are the people that literally NASA was based off of. Ronald Hubbard
All
found,
occultists.
yeah, all cultists, Scientology, cartoon film producer, ex-Nazi, and Aleister Crowley, right? These are the people that NASA was based off of. Wake up, people!
All
It's
sex
insane.
magicians, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And they love putting their sexual innuendos. Since you brought that up, this will lighten up the mood a little
Oh,
bit
yeah.
here. If I could,
All over Disney. There's a lot of that stuff.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
over NASA too, they're constantly showing us like ridiculous, ridiculous things. I'm just trying to remember where I put it.
Are you going to pull up Bezos's penis rocket straight out
Like,
of a Bond villain? And
yeah,
his screen door that was on the return ship with his babes in space kind of capsule, whatever it was.
yeah.
Polarity.
This is here. I'll show you a couple things. So the first picture SpaceX ever. Oh, so yeah, this is Katy Perry. Whoops, that's not what I want to show you. Hold on, let me just get rid of that. This is Katy Perry going into space. This is the picture side by side taken off of off of their website. All right. Okay. I mean, that they can't help themselves. The first picture of Earth from SpaceX had the word sex in the clouds. All right, maybe that's just pareidolia, right? Bezos's
Yeah.
rocket and Virgin Atlantic's rocket.
Yep.
Coincidence, right?
Yep.
I'm just a dirty old man, right?
Dicks in space.
This is NASA taking off, right? Weird. That's just me being perverted, right? And then it was weird for years. Every time Jeff's rocket would take off, the cameraman would have like conniptions, right? Only on the Bezos rocket, right?
Yeah. And not
It
to mention the Amazon logo, which is just, it's a banana penis,
yeah.
basically.
I never even noticed that one.
Oh, yeah.
This is when we first went to the moon. This is the Apollo. How they're going to get to the moon. Okay, right? And this is they were tired of drinking coffee out of a bag, so they created a cup that works in zero gravity. It makes no sense. So here's the logo of the mission patch. It kind of looks like a baby in a uterus, but that's just me. So here it is, and here's this woman drinking out of this flesh-colored cup,
Nice.
squirting liquid in there, and she if you watch the video, oh, here's the video. Hold on, it's so creepy, so creepy. So I don't even want to talk about what's going on here, and watch his look on her
I
face.
do. I kind of like it.
Yeah, of course. And like, how does the liquid stay in there? Like, what is the purpose? Right. So now
Yeah.
she's going to get it and just watch the creepy look on her face. It's so
Good.
bizarre.
Get it,
Right.
get it. Atta girl.
So this is in a kid's textbook, right? This is Uranus. This looks like a constipated poop and a butthole. Now listen, that one's a little bit of a stretch, but if you watch the rest of the book, this is the center spread of Uranus. This is Uranus
Nice.
in the book, all right? And here are a bunch of pictures of stuff that NASA had found in space, right?
Yes.
Look at that, all right? These are NASA photos. All right? These are NASA photos.
Yep.
Yeah. And I didn't even know that my wife was a huge Jeff Bezos fan. I found a model rocket in her night drawer. It was very, very strange. Very strange. I'm just kidding. Just
Space
kidding on that.
travelers.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding there, people.
She's gonna kill you now, Dave.
She's never going to see this. She's never going to watch this. It's not true.
But let's get back to, so what is a star? What is a planet? And what's going on out there in the heavens? Do you think, anyway? Not
So
that you would.
this is me. It reflects on no other flat earthers, although many might agree with me. I think that the stars are angelic. I think the stars are where our true souls really live. And we have our experiences here down on earth where we send our consciousness down into this video game, as Jeff Berwick would say, right? That we're here to experience that which we are not, which Darius J. Wright, it's a quote from him. We're here to experience that which we are not on the other side. We're experiencing time linearly versus no time, right? And, Darius says on the other side, if you think about a mango, instantly there's a mango in your hand, right? Instantly, everything is instantaneous. So if you lived in that, that heaven, if you will, it'd be amazing. But you might say, you know what? I'm going to go experience that which we are not. So if you're going to go, like, you ever play a shoot 'em up video game, Brian?
Sure.
So you want to go into the one that has monsters and has this, has that, and then you're in there, you're kind of empathizing with the guy in there. You're like, I gotta get a health pack, I gotta do this, right? And then when you get shut up, you go back in and you do it again. So if you're gonna come down here to Earth, what do you want? Well, I want wars, I want famine, I want baby eating pedophile leaders. I want it all. Give it to me all. And our job here is to remember who we truly are. So stars in my opinion, are where our souls live. The fallen, the wandering stars are all named after gods. Don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So that's my opinion.
So it makes me think of, I can't remember where in the Bible, but Yeshua was supposedly quoted as saying, "There are many rooms in my Father's mansion." And this occurs to me that maybe these are more reality bubbles. And having had a few NDEs myself, and one of them, I was kind of shown some events that were happening on Earth. And when you focused on something, your consciousness brought you there to gather more information, and it was simply a function of consciousness and your attention which draws you into that event or to view whatever. So there is a reality more real than this that I've experienced on multiple occasions, so I can testify to that.
And
And I've also tried to remote view. I don't know if you're familiar with Ingo Swann,
yeah,
but Ingo Swann had supposedly done remote viewings of the moon. And there's this guy, Bruce Seazall, who was assassinated, who put a camera on the moon in high def, and a telescope, and there was stuff going on there. So when I try to remote view, I get hit with some kind of a frequency fence, and I'm knocked back into my body every single time when I try and leave the
so
atmosphere. Do
here's
you
the
have any
thing
thoughts on
with
those?
remote viewing. As remote viewing, you have to interpret what you saw based on your understanding of reality. Now, if you believe the earth is a globe, you're going to see the earth as a globe. If a flat earther and a globe earther got into a rocket and went up to as high as you can go, the globe earther would see a round earth getting smaller and smaller. The flat earther would see a flat earth getting smaller and smaller, right? It would look like it would see the flat earth. So when you remote view something, you're going to interpret it the way that you see it, the way that you know the world. So I don't think that they're lying. I think that they're just misinterpreting some of what they're seeing. If he was a flat earther, he'd go back and he might see the same thing. People that say, I've been to Mars. Well, Mars might just be another pond beyond Antarctica. And maybe they were there. And if you flew there, you would see this pond get smaller and smaller and smaller. And then you would get towards another light, another sun, small sun. It would get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it would light up that pond. And you would think you went to another planet, but you're just going across the flat Earth.
Interesting. And the other thing maybe that touches on is the Monroe Institute and the CIA joint study on Project Stargate, where reality is holographic and your beliefs make your reality. So your experience is crafted by your belief in this experience, and your belief of this reality forms this reality.
That's
So
I
that may answer some of that as well.
I say that all the time. Your thoughts create your reality. And
Right.
we used to have all these old world free energy buildings. Our world used to have a harmonic resonance that would work with us. We're part of this world. And we'd have these incredible abilities, but they've knocked down all those buildings. They've shut all this stuff down. They've added all these other frequencies, and they're literally disconnecting us, separating us, separating us, separating us, separating us. Now, why? We can speculate all, who, why. We could speculate all day and night, but even with the disarray that this world is, we still have these abilities. It's just, um, I don't want to say more difficult, but maybe that is the right word. And maybe it's just more difficult. But your thoughts literally create your reality. What you focus on um, becomes your reality. Everything you have in your life, good or bad, is because that's what you were thinking and brought into your reality. A friend of mine recently just did a short video, said, be careful who you hang out with. If you hang out with people that are miserable and, struggling, you're going to become miserable and struggling. If you hang out with people that are masters of their domain, you're going to become a master of your own domain. Be careful who you hang out with, who you share your energy with, because they're sharing their energy with you. And it all comes together.
And I'll just add on that, David, that the time we did spend together, you're a delightful person. You're always upbeat. And when I was in distress, and I'll just tell everybody the story now, when I had arrived immediately in Puerto Vallarta, my room was robbed of all my savings. And soon as David and Curtis Stone heard about that, you both launched into action to tell the community and start some donations. Otherwise, I'd be ruined. I was ruined. And you guys got my back. And actually, the community came together, and Jeff Berwick topped it up to replace everything I lost. So God bless you and thank you. And you're a delightful person. And I have no doubt that you speak from your heart, and that you live every day from your heart. Your wife is lovely. You're just a very nice man. And I just wanted to say that to the audience because, you can tell a lot about people based on how they treat others, David, and you are a gentleman and a scholar, and I want to thank you for that, sir.
Brian, I had several choices. When I heard that story, I could have ignored it. I could have gone, oh man, that sucks. Fuck, what are
Mhm.
we going to do? You know, or I could say, okay, we got a situation. What can we do? I'm like, this is an awesome community, right? One of our speakers just got robbed. How would it hurt anybody else if everybody gave 10 or $20, whatever, if nobody would notice and it would make you whole again? And so we did it and everyone came together and you got restored. Um, and it was just a situation. Everything is a situation. There is no good or bad, right? There is no, look, oh, you can't say that. There are some bad things. Sure, I'm with you, but everything is an experience, and you can take the energy from that and take it to the good. If you see something that's horrible that someone's doing, you're like, I don't like that. I like this, and you go that way. Where your attention goes, the energy flows. So easy. It's really
You
easy.
walk the
People
walk.
people that go, it's really hard, or I can't do that. Well, then that's true for you. It's going to be hard, and you can't do it, right? You
Right,
can do anything. Any of us can do anything that we put our minds to that we're meant to do, and we're meant to do a lot of things. But people
right.
are caught in this mentality of fear, lack, and that's the ball, right? The ball is fear and lack and shortages and
Scarcity.
disconnection from God.
So that brings us to the next thing. What is this whole demonic influence? We touched on Loosh and this plane seeming to be some kind of harvesting farm. So what's your take on what are these demons? What's going on there? Why are they feeding on us? And how does all that work?
I
Do you
don't
think?
know.
Hmm.
I don't know. Now, are they the fallen angels? Honestly, um, there's a lot of people that are more educated on that topic than me. I It's all speculation, and I really like looking at the proofs that hey, the globe is alive. I found my calling. Whether God gave it to me or I'm just making it up in my crazy mind, you can have your opinion. I don't care. My calling is to bring people to flat Earth for one reason, because when you see that the Earth is flat, you can no longer deny the existence of God. You can no longer deny it. The verse Romans 1:20 says, "For the invisible things of Him from the creation of this world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even His eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse." So essentially, it's saying, once you see my creation, you can no longer deny my existence. I was a non God believing person until I understood that the earth was intelligently designed. If it was your first day on earth and you're walking through the jungle, you're all alone, and you come to a 100-story skyscraper building, you know that there's a builder. You don't know who it is, but it didn't happen randomly. You know there's a creator. So you can no longer
Right.
deny that. Right? So my
There is definitely mathematics and
do we have a little delay going?
go ahead.
I think we have a
Yeah,
little.
there seemed to be a bit of a lag or something weird there.
Yeah, there's a little delay. So let me just finish. So I would be watching podcasts and people would be talking about 9/11 or whatever. And I'm like, this is great, 10 pages of notes. And then they'd say them something about the Bible or let's pray. And I'm like, oh, religious fanatics. And I would tear up the notes and I would stop listening to the podcast because that's how brainwashed I was. But now it's different. So my goal is to make people see that this place is intelligently designed, and then your relation with the creator is yours, and it's none of my business.
I like that. And I don't know if you followed Philip K. Dick. Obviously, he's passed away for a long time, but in his later interviews, he was very much into this programmer architect of reality and how there are alternate timelines and there are changes and there are kind of fragmented realities from which this reality that we coexist in is constructed. And that's why we have these deja vus and these types of weird reality slips and timeline slips that have been recorded throughout history of those who practice these types of meditative experiences. And I think he did a pretty good job of describing basically the sim, and probably the matrix was built on the back of or on the shoulders of Philip K. Dick's understanding of this reality, which does appear to use mathematics, fractals, the golden ratio to program this reality to unfold in a certain pattern that seems to be somewhat controlled by these little blips of consciousness, which are us, because there is only one consciousness and we're but blips within it. And we project that reality to unfold it on an ongoing process. And what I would describe the demons or these negative entities as are creation that has been detached from source and is no longer generating source energy and now is feeding on others because they've been clipped from their connection because they are not going along with divine order.
Right.
That would
And
just
they,
be my
they need
guess.
us to create their reality. They need our emotions. Your emotions are super powerful. Your emotions and your thoughts create your reality. So if they can control us, steer our minds with the NEWS, Northeast, West, South, right? If they can steer our minds and keep us focusing on the negativity and the fear and the lack and everything, we can feed them their negative energy. So they want us to create the world that they want, and they want to be on top of us, right? I don't think the government, which are all demons, should be below our feet. I'm willing to step on them possibly, but that's it. There's nobody above you other than God.
Yeah, and it's God-given rights, not government-given rights. And you're right about them not having the creative capacity, which is why they harvest and use us. And you'll hear so many people who are brilliant who wrote movies and books and this and that, and they give it to these soulless entities and organizations, and they steal it as their own creation. One of the most identifying features of the possessed and demonically possessed entities are that they have no creative capacity. They can't create. We do. That's why they use us,
Right.
right?
And, these, all of our history is a lie. The geology is a lie. The where we live is a lie. Um, it's incredible. It's absolutely fascinating. I mean, I love it. This is the greatest time to be alive. Make sure you have a lot of non-GMO popcorn around because the show is on in 2026. And and there's lots of stuff out there that they don't want us to know about: free energy, health, plasma, all sorts of stuff. So again, this world is absolutely amazing, and everything you could possibly want is here for you.
And it seems to be that plasma seems to be the medium through which our consciousness projects our reality into form. And you, I know, are connected to Radiant Phi, who have a tremendously powerful product that is healing a lot of people's conditions. And this plasma has reemerged into the world again since Tesla and obviously prior. And you want to just talk a bit about that?
There's a lot of controversy about these things, and I tell people it's up to you to investigate and check it out. But, I've had incredible results using this technology. I'm healthy as I can be, and I've seen it really make differences in people's lives. But again, I don't like to make any claims about it. You really have to research it and try it out yourself, or talk to people that have had personal experiences with it. But basically, health is voltage. And as we get older and get all polluted, our voltage changes in our body. And so your cells need voltage to do what they're supposed to do. So this machine doesn't heal you. It basically gives you the voltage in your body to heal itself. It gives your body the ability for all of your cells to run like they're newborn baby cells, brand new, full of voltage and ready to go. So, um, what do you have to
And
say?
that seems to be fueling the ATP process.
Yeah.
And ATP is the energy that we use to fuel our body. And it's generated by mitochondria. And it seems to be charging that process to give our body, like you said, the resources it needs to heal itself, because the human body is the most miraculous thing that we've discovered in the universe. And it is self-healing and adaptive and all of those things. It just needs the right fuel and conditions to actually make it work the way it's designed to. And this seems to be fueling that. I mean, when we had sat together, there was tons of people who already had it, that were talking about conditions that were resolved due to their use of this technology.
Yeah. Somebody after the conference, somebody here, well, where I was at the time, um, his friend had just rolled his ankle, and it was hugely swollen. And he'd come over and we used the coil on him for 20 minutes and all the swelling went away. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, that's like the fastest physical thing I've seen. But I've seen it do many, many, many other things. But again, if you want to learn about it, it's radiantphi.com. And if anybody wants more information, you can reach out to me.
That's incredible. And what are your other websites? And I know you launched basically a job search site as well. Do you want to just say a little bit about
Yeah,
that?
yeah. So the job search site, in 2014, 15, the Globers would come at us going, "Oh, you're a flat earther. Good luck ever getting a job, dummy." Right? And no one's going to hire you. But the truth is, there's so many of us now that that they can't that we don't want to work with them. We don't want to hire them. Like if you flat earther, I give an example. Let's say you have, you want someone to build some cabinets in your house, just simple thing. You got 10 applicants and one of them's a flat earther. I'm hiring the flat earther, right? Cause he's a critical thinker, right? If you want to work with somebody or work for somebody, you want them to be a critical thinker. So on my app, the Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, I'm adding. It's not. I haven't made it live yet. There's going to be a jobs board. And what is a jobs board? It's a place where you can post jobs that you're offering or look for jobs that you want. And it's right here on mine. Mine has it, but don't look for it yet on yours. Um, and basically you can go to areyouabluedot.com. Areyouabluedot.com. So if you have a job, if you're looking for a like-minded person, right? If you're looking for somebody who, is a critical thinker, well, we have a hell of a community here, where these are all the people that have my app. So if you're looking, so if you're looking for someone that didn't succumb to being a human pincushion in 2020 and as a critical thinker, they're all going to have access to this. So I'm waiting. And again, now they have the option where I could have backfilled it with 70,000 active jobs. I don't want to do that. I only want posts from people that are awake and aware. So those are the blue dots on my app. So Are You a Blue Dot is the website. So if you're looking for a critical thinker, you can post your job there for free. And, hopefully we can make more and more connections and work together.
And I would encourage people to get behind the initiatives and the people launching them to construct these alternative platforms and systems to compete with this totalitarian nightmare that's been kind of sucking us all into it. And if we don't get behind these initiatives, they're going to fail. So we need to get behind the people and the structures that are being generously offered to the public for free on your own dime and your own, side. So I hope everybody that is hiring does look at those options.
But
And
I mean, anyone
let
that's hiring, listen, if you're a flat earther and you're hiring and you're posting your job and wherever you post jobs these days, what better place than to post it within our own community to get, people, like-minded people to apply to your job. So if you have a job, whether it's working in a deli, a farm worker, a factory job, a corporate job, whatever it is, go on there and list it, and you'll have a pool of intelligent, awake and aware people. And that's what you want. You want somebody that knows the world for what it is or isn't.
David, are you friendly to Black Ops science organizations that are trying to recruit people who understand real cosmology?
Well, we'll see. I'm sure that there'll probably be some unawake people posting jobs on there eventually, but they all have to be approved. And if someone posts some nonsense on there, it'll be flagged, and it's easy squeezy. But right now, it's just I haven't even launched it yet. There's a few jobs on there, and if you have something, or let's say you're starting a business and you're looking for someone to join you, post it. Maybe you can find your partner, for whatever business you're starting, or homestead, or whatever it is. Post it.
David, I see in
ruabluedot.com.
your future a new dating site as well.
Oh
Is
no,
that
it's
in the
already
cards?
wait, you have no idea. Ready? So if you click this button right here, the heart, right? Up comes the dating site, right? It's already
Ah,
there. So I have myself listed as 1 year old because I don't want to show up in anyone's results. I'm looking for somebody between this age. Within 1,000 miles, I could hit search and it's going to show me, but I've already hearted 19 people. So I'll just click the heart to show you. And here are women between the age group that I wanted, within whatever radius I selected. And I can go from page to page. I can click message and send her a message. And I'm like, hey, you're right down the road from me. Let's meet together for a coffee or whatever. And it's already resulted in marriages and babies.
wow.
Yeah. So, and that's easy. And that's the app is $3 one time charge, but the you have to have a subscription to be able to use that part of it, or any other. There's one subscription that unlocks everything, and it's $11 a year. Now people complain, $11 a year. That's
That's nothing.
that's a margarita without a tip, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
people are on Match.com, which will never match you up with with as many in common things of people that my app has, and that's like $40 a month or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, any other information you want to leave the audience with, your website or what you have coming up?
Everything is flatearthdave.com. On my app every day, featured video. Today, on the day of this recording, this is I took the Brad Lee Dropping Bombs interview and I remastered it. I put in over 100 videos and images of everything I was talking about because this was in studio, so I didn't have all my multimedia, and it came out fantastic. And so check it out. FlatEarthDave.com. Everything's there. Hit my interviews channel. If you think Flat Earth is dumb, scroll down to where it says Crash Course. Watch the first 3 or 5 videos. Game over. All right? And you too can be rejected by your friends and family too, because you'll be a flat earther.
And that's what I would encourage people to do. Is we've only had an hour and a half today to talk about these things, but there are hours of content, and
Days, weeks.
and like I said, those that are in disagreement, they're not presenting very convincing arguments to the contrary. And everything that I've seen you produce is science-based and warrants
Yeah.
investigation, which is not being done by those that have, again, been conditioned and programmed to just discount it, not investigate. And I don't think everybody's there yet, but we're getting there.
On the app right here is flashcards. There's over 225 different flat earth proofs and cards, right? It's little memes. You could send them to people. This is the Old World page, and this is, the incredible. You could spend months in here. My Lunch Break, one of my favorites. I'm actually doing a podcast tomorrow with Jake. I'm the Improbable Dreamer. He's amazing on TikTok and Instagram. Blow you away with short little videos about airships and the old world. The giant trees section, all sorts of stuff.
And that's Mike Wilkerson actually contributes a lot to that area as well, who's great,
Yeah.
who's also in Acapulco.
Biogeology. This is Mike's section right here. Biogeology. Nice. And his stuff, when it first came out, I'm like, really? Come on. It's a little step too far. Mountain being a giant Titan elephant. Like, come on. And I watched the first video. I'm like, not impressed. And then he sent me the second video. I'm like, huh. Then he sent me the third video. I'm like, mother effer. And I was like, another rabbit hole. I was like, now I can't even go outside. I can't even go outside anymore. Right. But here's the thing. Belief is the enemy of knowing. Right. You can believe that things are crazy, and to you, they'll always be crazy until you look. I thought Flat Earth was the dumbest crap ever, and I went in to disprove it. And here I am, Flat Earth Dave. I have a biblical section with all sorts of amazing stuff. There's shopping section, Flat Earth merchandise. There's all sorts of stuff. Homeschool. Yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
Meetup Maker. You can make meetups, and then it'll notify everybody within your area that you're having a meetup. And that's a great way to meet local people around you. So there you go. FlatEarthDave.com is where you can find everything.
And my name is Ryan Veli. My website is ryanveli.com, although it's down right now. I was engaged in some lawfare last year. You can reach me at info@ryanveli.com for consultations or any references to, anything we've discussed today. I have a body of work that covers largely artificial intelligence, but I touch a lot of different things, obviously. And I also host what's called Truth Addicts Anonymous for people who are isolated, alone, and want a support group for people who can make friends and just share their stories and their wake-up stories and stuff like that. I host it as often as possible. If you're interested in any of those things, contact me directly at info@ryanveli.com. Dave, like I said, it's been a tremendous honor to meet and know you. You've been a blessing in my life, and you helped me get back on my feet after I was knocked down. Thank you, David. And you have a lovely wife, and your body of work is incredible. You're a walking creation, and you produce content and brilliance around you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate our talk this morning.
All right, Ryan. Thanks, man. See you around.
Take care, brother.
The Flat Earth Clock app matchmaker just got a new update. Large results will now load super fast, and favorites can now be selected. If you are new to the matchmaker, simply set up your criteria on sex, age ranges, and what radius you want to search from your location. When viewing results, you can quickly add the ones that interest you to favorites by clicking the white heart. After you are done selecting, go back to the main screen at the top. You can see how many favorites you have and access that list by clicking the heart. Check out their profiles and send them a message. You can even do voice or video calls within the app. Invite them to meet for a drink, and you can discuss how the surface of the drink lays flat. That special like-minded person may be closer than you imagine. The Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, bringing critical thinkers together since 2018. Go to flatearthdave.com and download it today for your iOS or Android devices, and connect with the most amazing people on our beautiful Flat Earth.